You guys are going to wait here?
They thought they were showing up to sell some Pokémon cards. Instead, they were confronted by the man who says those cards had been stolen from him days earlier.
Someone posing as Schweer used this photo from her home's real estate listing to hire Jesse Harder to remove the tree.
It's not unusual to find 7 shoes on one of my walks. I walk through the park. You almost need a shopping bag.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport. This must be a big moment for you. You're riding a wave of success, universal acclaim from your performance last week in episode 227. But we're going to try to top it tonight in episode 228 of Keep Canada Weird, our weekly weird news roundup. With it being the 228th episode, I feel like I must give a special shout out to the Gulf Coast region of southeastern Mississippi. So I'm talking about places like Gulfport, Biloxi, and Pascagoula. My apologies as well for butchering the name of your cities, but you know why I'm shouting out to you. Your area code is 228, but that pales in comparison to what you did last week. I just want to tell you I've heard from listeners from all across the globe who were impressed with your performance at the number segment last week.
I'm really happy to hear that I got through to some listeners, made a connection there on my fondness and memories of the sitcom 227. And that'll be my first and final contribution to the numbers segment. I now return to the numbers segment most avid critic, and I will be now going back to my regular job of trying to take down the numbers segment and have it eliminated from the show.
Okay. Well, I will say, in all seriousness, the response to the 227 reference to that TV show that you loved as a kid is incredibly strong, so much so that I want to open the show with a little bit of feedback on your number segment from last week.
This is your correspondent from Lethbridge. I was so hoping that when Aaron was building up for the 227 episode, it was going to make mention of the excellent sitcom 227 that aired in the 80s. I absolutely adored that show. That was the first number segment that I enjoyed.
It is Sassy Stacy, your Dartmouth correspondent, phoned in to have Handsome Aaron Airports back. The minute you started talking about your excitement for the upcoming 227 episode, I thought to myself, that man can't be referring to anything other than the sitcom 227, which was so funny.
It's Rob from Toronto giving a call. Just want to send my flowers and kudos to Aaron. Last couple weeks when he's been saying he has something up his sleeves for this episode, I've been crossing my fingers that he would reference the show 227, and lo and behold, what did he do? Reference the show. I too loved that show as a kid of the 80s. Keep it up, boys. Thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Aaron.
So it seems like they were like calling your shot. Each of those people who were impressed by this saw it coming a mile away. I guess 227 has a lot of fans out there.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. And I figured that would happen, that there would be children of the 80s, not just children of the 80s, but adults of the 80s as well. Anyone who has memories of the 80s, I was hoping that there'd be enough people out there, enough listeners that would remember the show, even slightly, remember the show 227.
It has clearly touched a lot of people out there, and I'm glad to help touch a few more of them with the joys of 227. But let's keep this show moving here. I want to unveil my special drink. I have something in my hand here that I don't think is traditionally special, but it's special to me. I don't know if you're a big fan of Fanta or Fanta, the orange flavored pop. I got into them after I was in Mexico last year, and they had a brand of orange flavored pop in Mexico called Mirinda that I absolutely loved, but they don't sell them in Canada. I've been trying to find some kind of replacement, and about the closest thing I can find is these zero sugar Fantas. They're an orange pop, not unlike Orange Crush, let's say, but this really does taste like oranges. Let me crack one open and have a sip. It's always delicious. I think I know where you're going to go with your special drink. Let me play one other bit of voicemail that I received, because I think this is going to be a perfect setup for your special drink tonight.
Hey, Jordan and Aaron. This is Blair from St. John. And I just wanted to say that currently I'm on an East Coast road trip. And my kiddo, Mouse, and I, and my partner Megan, we're hoping to bring Aaron Airport some special drinks up in Sydney, because that's where we'll be staying. Because you guys have really stepped it up since I made the comment about the special drinks not being special enough. Thanks for everything. Thank you so much for stepping up the special drinks. Y'all are amazing. I feel like you're the besties I've never met. See you soon.
First of all, we heard from Blair ages ago who she was semi-critical about our special drinks segment slipping. She wanted us to level it up. I'm sure we did that. But this voicemail that I just got is she was coming to the East Coast and wanted to connect to deliver a special drink to Handsome Aaron Airport. So let me ask you, what's your special drink tonight, buddy?
Well, I did, in fact, meet up with Blair and Blair's family, Megan and Mouse. And they brought me some special drinks, and one of them, a couple of them are ones I had before, but this one I didn't. And it's called Sussex Golden. It's a ginger ale from New Brunswick, which is where Blair and their family is from. And I already have it poured in my Robbins coffee mug, because also where I met up with Blair was at the Robbins Donuts in Sydney Mines.
She sent me a photo, which is pretty awesome and appropriate place to meet.
Yes, that's right. And I'm now going to try my Sussex Golden ginger ale for the first time. And here we go.
I will say, I don't know if you're as big of a ginger ale guy as me, but ginger ale heads will know Sussex ginger ale. I think that's the best there is. Take a sip. You'll enjoy this.
Yeah, that is good. That is good.
That is damn good. One issue, though, is usually you don't drink sugar. There's a hell of a lot of sugar in that. So
I poured just a quarter of a cup here to sip on while I'm recording the show. It's very delicious. I could drink the whole thing right now. I haven't had sugar in a drink in quite some time, so now I'm craving it badly, and I might be in trouble.
This is going to be a fun episode. I want to start the show off with a story that's almost like a follow-up to something we talked about last week. In last week's episode, 227, we heard the story of the scammers that were targeting potential vendors at like an Apple festival kind of thing. And we talked about like how low can these scammers sink as nothing sacred anymore. Well, there's a story that's in the news that hits pretty close to home, even more so for Blair. It comes out of Shediac, New Brunswick, and it is very much in line with what was happening at the Apple Festival, except this, I think we get to see the horrible outcome. New Brunswick's first Renaissance Fair attracted over 5,000 guests who were eager to dress up in period attire, watch jousting, and spend a weekend pretending that it was medieval times. But unfortunately, as we heard in many Keep Canada Weird episodes, nothing is sacred in 2026, and the Knights of the Shediac Renaissance Fair found themselves overburdened by the forces of charlatan scammers. Here's the story of the scammers who caused a hell of a lot of trouble at the Renaissance Fair.
Thousands of tourists dressed in medieval costumes flocked to Shediac for the two-day event, but for many, the novelty of the first-time event quickly wore off. People waited for hours outside, and they waited inside. Organizers say because the event was sold out, it was targeted by scammers.
There were about 7 pages where people were scamming people pretending to be us, using our social media, using our logos. And we kept trying our best to inform people that they were scams, but people, I think, just really wanted to come and they were willing to do anything to get tickets. And, and then there were some people who had bought an actual ticket but sold it to 5 people. So when the barcode scanned once, that first person got in, but everybody else couldn't. And, and if we had had more space, I would have loved to let everybody in. But, with capacity, you just have numbers for safety.
Hislop says those counterfeit tickets may have contributed to overcrowding. Despite the challenges, Sébastien Després says he's committed to bringing back the fair next year.
The major problems we figured out, like we sat together, made a plan, followed that plan, and it worked. And so we're super confident that we can do it perfectly by next year. We'll have a super well-oiled machine.
That stuff we know that can be rectified. And, we're going to come up with a plan to reach out to all of those people who have sent us emails and who need support.
As for the phony tickets, Hislop says the fair has filed a complaint with the RCMP, and he says anyone who missed out on the event because of the scam should also tell the police.
Before we get into the scam and all, and the fallout from it, talk about a Renaissance fair. Are you surprised that there's that much of a demand that people were scalping tickets to the Renaissance fair?
I'm not surprised. I put Renaissance fair kind of in the same ballpark as like LARPing, like live action role playing, and that whole world. It's very popular, and I feel like it's only growing in popularity. When you look at what Comic-Cons are doing, when you look at all these different types of events that are now popping up everywhere in great numbers, with tons of people going to them. A Renaissance fair makes total sense to me, but the organizers of this fair realized how challenging it is to organize and execute an event like this.
And there's also like a bit of a cruel irony here where the people who are going to this event and really getting deep into the Renaissance fair type of attitude, they're escaping the troubles of 2026 in this modern world by taking part in this, except they're thrust right back into it and reminded again of how bad things are right now.
Yeah, it seems like every event on the planet right now, it has scammers involved.
You can't do anything.
You can't do anything. And even small, like the Apple Festival that we talked about last week or the week before. And you would think that in a small town, an Apple Festival would be safe from these types of scammers, but it's not the case anymore. They are going into every little nook and cranny that they can find and scamming people in every way that they can.
Yeah, and we're going to hear a lot of it tonight. Some of the stories we have coming up, this is a good kind of segue and foundation to build as we start to unpack some of this week's stories. We're going to hear two stories related to vigilantes, which are people who just had enough and took the law or justice into their own hands and tried to do something about it. And later on in the show, we're going to hear about another scam that may be the most unusual one I heard of in recent memory. But I just want to say one last thing about the Renaissance Fair. I think it's quite appropriate that one of the events they're planning for next year is a sort of like dystopian post-apocalyptic fair, which is like you're going to go to the fair as if the world has ended. And I think that's actually pretty good.
That's a unique idea. I like that. But these organizers are already making new mistakes. They're saying, oh, we're going to come back next year and we're going to perfect it. We've learned from all of our mistakes. However, one mistake that they are already making is taking on more than they can handle already, because now they're talking about doing 3 events next year as opposed to just retrying this one. And then of doing it for a few years in a row and then take on more once you know that you've got it locked down. But they are ambitious, and like Icarus, they will fly too close to the sun. And just like there are people waiting in the lineups, they will also bake in the sun as well.
Oh, God.
So I wish them all the best, and I do hope that their events go perfectly next year as they have predicted. However, 3 big events after only doing 1 this year that was such a failure. I wish them all the best.
Yeah, I'll have my fingers crossed for the Knights of the Shediac Renaissance Fair. Well, let's take our first break and then really get into it. As I said, when we come back from this break, we're going to have 2 stories about vigilantes that made their way into the Canadian news this week. And Samaritan Airport, I told you we had some stories of vigilantes. There's actually 2. One that I will consider a positive vigilante. The second one, I think it's almost evil, but we'll get into that. Let's start with this. A Pokémon card collector in Vancouver said he was robbed of 3 valuable cards during a Facebook Marketplace meetup at his home. That's something, of course, we're not at all surprised by here on Keep Canada Weird. But this story is completely different than the others we've heard. Days after being ripped off of these expensive Pokemon cards, the victim saw the same cards listed on Facebook Marketplace, and vigilante hell broke out. Here's the story of Vancouver's Pokemon vigilante.
You guys are going to wait here?
They thought they were showing up to sell some Pokémon cards. Instead, they were confronted by the man who says those cards had been stolen from him days earlier.
The mission was hold these guys down until the cops can get there and get my cards back.
Emilio Kian says just a few days before the confrontation at Metrotown, the same two men came to his Coquitlam home to complete a Facebook Marketplace transaction.
I put the cards in his hand. As soon as they're in his hand, he just starts running. A couple scabs, a little bit of road rash here, you know.
He says these were the injuries he suffered after clinging to the getaway car before falling to the ground.
I called the cops. I let them know what happened. They kind of let me know, we can't really do that much.
But a few days later, friends flagged an online listing. The same Pokemon cards were back up for sale, using the exact same photos Kian had posted in his original advertisement.
I'm just thinking, you know what? These guys can't be the most intelligent of people.
So Emilio and his friends decided to set up a meetup, posing as new buyers with a plan to get the cards back.
Let's call the cops right now.
Recording it all on video sunglasses, Emilio and his friends confronted the men at the Burnaby Mall and held them there until police arrived.
There's a bit of mayhem going on for our officers to figure out what actually happened.
Police made 2 arrests at the scene, 1 adult and 1 youth who could face charges including theft. While the plan worked this time, RCMP say people should never confront suspects on their own.
Vigilantism can only cause problems because no one knows who has weapons. Even as the victim, if you show up and you harm someone, now you're looking at charges as well.
Kian says he went to police, but felt he wasn't getting the help he needed.
The police response, they really didn't seem like they were going to help me that much. One of the officers literally said if it was me, I'd probably just try and set them up myself. The holy grail here.
Kian got his cards back, though not without a little damage. He's sharing his story as a reminder to use caution when selling online and to consider meeting at a public place such as a police station.
I had no issues with the Pokemon community before this, no issues with marketplace meetups, but you really never know.
Gosh, that is an action-packed, fully loaded story. Fully loaded with social issues. There's so much at play in that story. It also touches on so many things we've talked about in the past. But I think it's also a great snapshot of how bad life is right now. There are people, these guys, wearing the Meta glasses that have cameras in them.
Mm-hmm.
They're outside of a Dollarama holding down some guys screaming about Pokemon cards and telling people to call police. The scene of this vigilante takedown is absolute chaos, and it never should get to this point, but here we are.
Yeah, they were really taking a big risk doing that. Like one of the officers said in the news story, you never know. They could have weapons. They could have a knife. They could have whatever. It's just such an unknown. And I don't know if I would do it. He had his friends with him. So
yeah.
There's a bit of comfort in that sense where you've got other people with you. And another thing I was wondering too is that the story said that it was an adult and a youth who were the ones that stole the cards.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, is this like a father-son duo? Like what is the situation there?
Yeah, the people who got arrested, the alleged thieves who were set up and taken down and held outside of the Dollarama at the Burnaby Mall, they were arrested on the scene, and the guy got the cards back. So the police must have done some kind of investigation kind of at the scene. I'm kind of surprised that it all wrapped up that way. But as far as one was an adult, one was a kid, could that not just mean one was 19 or 20 and one was like 17? I can't imagine it was a father and son being this stupid.
Well, it could be, but I like to think of it as a father and son duo because it's funnier that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. They have to be the worst crime duo, like to steal the cards on one place, Facebook Marketplace, then to try to offload them in that same spot using the same photos that the original listing had. They're asking for this to happen, which is, for me, if I was going to try to set these guys up and get my cards back, I'd be even more scared one of them has a weapon if they're that stupid and brazen. I'm like, the idiot who would stab me over a Pokemon card is about as intelligent as the people who would relist them in the same place they stole them from with the same photos.
I know why, because it's not a father and son who did this. It's a grandfather and a grandchild.
Oh, yeah.
And the grandchild is probably an infant.
Okay.
So this explains why the culprits basically didn't quite understand the reach that the internet has and how traceable it would be if they reuse the same pictures, because the grandfather is computer illiterate, doesn't understand the whole thing, and the infant is an infant.
Okay.
So that's the only explanation here. We've narrowed it down. It's a grandfather and their grandson that stole the Pokemon cards and then got shook down by these regular adults.
Okay. And maybe do you suspect the media's in on it by trying to kind of hide the souring senior issue that we've been uncovering? Maybe they just didn't want to go there. They're like, the editor at this news site was like, just call them an adult. Just say it's an adult. Don't mention that it's a senior.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that's totally what happened. The souring senior issue continues, and we have now a grandfather who is now distorting the moral pathway of an infant.
Yeah, this is a newborn baby with the grandfather.
It could be 6 months old.
Maybe. I guess you're right. It could be.
From the information that we have.
Well, in the news clip, you do see them both. They're blurred, but they're both standing up with their hands behind their backs getting put into a cop car. Neither really look like a baby, but maybe, because it was like blurred to hide their identity. So I don't know who it was.
Well, we'll call this story the Maybe Baby story.
The Maybe Baby versus the Pokemon Vigilante. I'm glad this guy got his cards back. How about that? I wish Pokemon cards weren't so popular that the world has gone completely crazy for them. People robbing you at your house, needing to do these big heists to get your cards back. And meanwhile, the police are just like, you should just buy and sell Pokemon cards at our police station. It's all crazy.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's move on to the next story of a vigilante. This one's quite a bit different in flavor. A Waterloo homeowner feels victimized by an overzealous delivery driver turned community bylaw vigilante, and the whole thing is very Keep Canada weird. As it turns out, the home that the package was being delivered to didn't have a visible house number displayed, and that's what the whole thing revolves around. Here's the story of the Amazon package being delivered by the house number vigilante.
Now he's decided to come back with pen in hand.
These videos, captured by a Waterloo homeowner, are drawing frustration after he claims his home was vandalized by a delivery driver. In the videos, a driver can be seen dropping off a package and walking away, only to return and write something on the brick.
This is totally unacceptable. This is vandalism.
Homeowner Jeff Owen says the incident happened nearly 2 months ago when his Amazon package was delivered, but he didn't notice the drawing until weeks later.
We do not use the front door. We always go through the garage.
Owen has lived at the home for the last 4 years, and while he's aware that there isn't a number displayed on the house, he says it's never been an issue before.
Nobody's ever complained, and if there was a problem, don't deliver the package.
In an emailed statement to CTV News, an Amazon spokesperson said they were working with the family to make the situation right, but noted the item was sold by a third-party seller and was not fulfilled or delivered by Amazon. Owen has attempted to contact the third-party seller Yun Express and delivery carrier Email Express to no avail.
The phone number we were given was a number from China, which didn't exist.
CTV News also attempted to contact both companies, but the numbers were not in service at the time of our call. Though frustrating, e-commerce expert Marianne Susi says third-party sellers are very common. The responsibility lies in how you choose to ship your product. Meanwhile, Owen says he's still angry about the permanent marker and is working to cover it up.
Concrete brick sucks in moisture, so it's not a surface damage, it's into the brick.
In Waterloo, there is a bylaw that homes do need to have a displayed number. Owen told me that their family has since ordered the numbers for their house, but are still in shock about the entire ordeal.
To me, that's absolutely ridiculous. Why would the delivery driver care that they don't have a number? He identifies, like he brings a package up and delivers it. Obviously, he has identified that this house is number whatever. He leaves and goes back to his car only to get a Sharpie and come back. And just as the news clip explains, on the light gray brick of the house, he just writes the numeric number. I think it was like 637. He just writes it on a brick next to their door. What would possess him to do that?
Well, we don't know how long it took him to locate that house because he couldn't see the number.
So do you think it's an act of like rage? He's just so mad because he wasted time. He's probably paid by the deliveries. He's like, I spent 25 minutes trying to figure out which one's which. And I want to make it easier for the next guy.
Yeah, that's right. Or himself, because maybe he'll be coming back with another delivery again. And I have to be honest, I kind of support him.
It would be annoying. I would be more annoyed as the homeowner without the visible number, especially if you're ordering stuff, like getting pizzas and stuff. If I order a pizza, the first thing I do is I turn on my front lights so that way the front of my house is lit up and they can see the number. I feel like the majority of the inconvenience would be on the homeowner by not having the number visible. I think the driver, this guy, I feel like he should have just moved on with his life instead of wasting the extra time walking up that driveway again with the Sharpie in hand.
Maybe he comes across this all the time with other houses and he's just tired of it and he's making a point. He's like, you know what? If I get videotaped doing this and end up on the news, good, because I want this to go public. I want people to know that they need to have their house numbers on there, especially if they're going to be getting items delivered from Amazon or whatever. And he's taking one for the team. And the more I think about it, I 100% support him. I believe what he did was the right thing. And this neglectful homeowner, I'll call him, he's probably owned this house for a long time.
Well, it said 4 years without a number.
4 years. And he never got around it. Oh, I never go out the front. We use the back door. And it's like, dude, come on.
Well, there is some truth to that. This number that was written on the door, it was there for weeks before he realized. A number of weeks passed, and then he saw his number written in Sharpie, permanent marker, on his brick. And he's like, what's this all about? And then he started going back through his video doorbell footage.
Well,
found it.
And yeah, you're right. But here's the thing is that go to the front of your house more often.
Yeah, that's a good point. As a homeowner, there's a few things you should do, like make sure, your roof's not leaking and your drains are going right. And then just look at your front door too.
Just once every couple days, have a look and then remind yourself, oh, I have to get my house number up on there because the municipality by law demands that I do. And I order stuff from Amazon all the time. It's probably a real pain for those delivery drivers to verify that it's my house. And this guy, I'm done with him.
Well, I will say that if your theory or your passion and belief that the delivery driver was in the right, it's kind of backed up a bit by the fact that there's a bylaw that says he needs to have a number and he's in breach of it. And the news clip ends by them saying he plans to get numbers. So whatever happened, why ever this delivery driver did it, it worked. This man's going to have a number going forward. And the delivery driver seems to have gotten away with it because this man and the news haven't been able to figure out who the delivery driver is or contact any of the companies he works for. So he's completely gotten away with it. Took one for the team, as you say, for other delivery drivers. And now this guy's getting a number. So yeah, he's a vigilante. A lot of people out there won't agree with what he's done, but I think he got what he was looking for.
Yeah, I agree with what he's done. And the homeowner is complaining about, oh, it's brick, so it's not just a regular like vinyl surface or something. The moisture penetrates into the brick, right? But
is he working towards asking Amazon to like replace the bricks on the front of his house?
He's like, this sketchy third-party seller really needs to pay for the cleaning of my entire house. But you know what he could do to easily solve the issue of the permanent marker written on brick, his house number, is actually go out and buy a house number and put it over what's written there in marker. And then he's done. He doesn't have to clean it off because that house number has to always be there. So... And he never goes to the front of his house anyway, so what does he care if there's permanent marker on the front of it? He doesn't use the front of his house. He never goes to the front of his house. This guy, I hate this guy. The more we dig into this, the more just unreal that this guy had the gall to go to the news about this.
It's like peeling back an onion, and it just gets more sour, more wicked with each layer we peel back. Let's put a bow on this section of the show. We just heard 2 Vigilante stories. Let's take our second and final break. When we get back, we have 2 crime stories, and they're quite something. We're going to hear about animals. We're going to hear about another scam. I'm going to save the scam for the very end because I truly have heard nothing like this before. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk foxes in the context of a crime story. Handsome Aaron Airport. It's been a while since we had a good animal story. This is a great animal story, so buckle up. Saskatchewan's Great Blue Heron Provincial Park has been the setting of a bizarre serial crime spree that has now claimed, among other things, over 100 shoes. The culprits in this story aren't senior citizens. They aren't teenagers. It's a group of about 5 foxes. Here's the story of Saskatchewan's foxiest thieves.
This might not look like much of a temptation, but for a group of foxes at this Saskatchewan campground, shoes are so irresistible, they've turned to a life of crime.
That's our collection for today.
And they've been busy. Since early July, more than 100 shoes have passed through the lost and found at Great Blue Heron Provincial Park, and finding them has become a part of Linda McDonald's daily walk.
It's not unusual to find 7 shoes on one of my walks. I walk through the park almost daily, so you almost need a shopping bag.
McDonald has had a cabin in the area for more than 40 years. She says the odd shoe has disappeared before, but this summer, it's a full-on spree. Park staff believe 5 foxes are behind the heist, and Brenda Andrus caught one making a getaway.
We actually we're driving out of the campground. We just turned onto the first highway, and a little fox ran across the road, and sure enough, he had a little shoe in his mouth. So
getting them back is another story.
They seem to like Birkenstocks, but I don't know. There's a lot of Crocs in here too.
Found shoes are dropped into the bins and posted to Facebook, where people tried to track down their footwear. And the foxes seem to be getting bold. One of the thefts appeared almost coordinated.
We had one story where people were walking down the street and they saw one fox sitting on the road and the other one kind of on the edge of the campsite. And it was almost like the one fox was on lookout and the other one went into the campsite, stole a shoe, and then they both took off running.
Their haul isn't limited to just footwear. Dog toys, gloves, even oven mitts have disappeared. And when they do go for shoes, size doesn't matter.
I found everything from a baby sandal to a hiking boot. And foxes aren't that big, and a hiking boot's fairly heavy. So yeah, they're determined.
It's a sweet story, but what makes it weird is the sheer scope of this. When I saw the number of like over 100 shoes, I thought they meant, so far since we've been noticing it, but they mean since July, which is just last month. And then we hear from that woman in the story who goes for daily walks and says like it's not unusual to find like 7 or 8 shoes. So this is a prolific group of thieving foxes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And long-time listeners of this show will always know the reference of the animal uprising and our proven theory that animals are trying to reclaim the earth and are going to wipe out the human species, the human race. So what I think is happening here is the foxes are trying to take away a lot of useful tools, including our footwear, so that when the uprising does occur officially, if we're barefoot through the whole thing, then we're not going to be able to attack or defend ourselves very well physically.
That's a good point.
We won't be able to run very fast or for very long. Our feet, which are, soft as a baby's butt right now, because society, we've been living with shoes for a very long time. So
hundreds of years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the history of shoes, but...
And keep in mind, this is happening at like a provincial park, and I bet you there's a lot of gravel pathways. And what feels worse than walking on gravel in bare feet? The foxes could eat us alive as we tiptoed across that gravel.
Yeah, absolutely. It would just leave us so vulnerable, and it's a really good idea on the foxes. And Yeah, they really live up to the idea that they're sly and that they're, sneaky and all these things.
And it seems like the theft of shoes may only be like the first wave, because we did hear there as well that there was an oven mitt taken. And if there was also an attack on our food source, and we also heard how there was like the coordination with the foxes, one on lookout, the other stealing the shoe. What if they're also like, let's take their shoes and their ability to cook food? And we totally got them.
Well, I think the strategy with the oven mitts is not to take away our ability to cook food, but what they're hoping is going to happen is that we'll be cooking food in an oven, but then, I don't have my oven mitts. I can't pull the casserole out of the oven. The casserole burns and then lights the house on fire.
Yeah, and then we run out barefoot.
And then we can't run because we don't have our shoes.
We're doomed.
Oh, man, they know what they're doing.
That's it. Yeah, well, I said this is a crime segment. You see what I mean? This is attempted murder, basically, is what these foxes are doing. What do you think of the provincial park using it as a kind of a promotional thing? They have a Facebook group where they're posting photos of the shoes as they find them, giving people the opportunity to come claim them. I think that's a great idea.
It is. It's a great way to market the park, and when something is happening that's out of your control, you can't stop it, then you might as well embrace it and move with it. Yeah.
You ride the controversy, and this is certainly a controversy. I do want to say as well, like, whether or not the foxes are trying to kill us, they're the sweetest animals. The look of those things. I'm a dog guy. I got my sweet girl Penny, who's, I don't know where she is right now, but she's probably in the house thinking of me, and I'm down here thinking of her. But Fox is an adorable dog. I wish there was a way that they could tame them. I would love to have a pet fox that treated me just like my girl Penny does, because I would take the two for a walk every night, my Fox and Penny.
Yeah, I would love to have a fox as well. And they seem cuddly to me. I'd like to embrace a fox and then watching a movie on the couch. It would just be lovely.
Scratch.
Yeah, a little scratch.
And
under
they're
the chin.
smart and playful and stuff. Like, foxes will play just like a dog will.
Well, it would be great to say, Fox, get me my shoes. And then they bring me my shoes and I put them on.
He already has it.
Yeah.
I told you we have a couple crime stories. Let's move away from our love of foxes and our want for tamed foxes. And let's move on to a scam story that is unlike any we've heard. When I heard this story, I thought, oh my God, this is as bad as it could ever get. We've been talking scams a lot. This is going to be the cherry on top. An Alberta family came home to discover the large maple tree on their front lawn had been cut down. When they contacted the arborist who did the work, they learned about something called the overpayment scam. Here's the story of the scammer who tricked an arborist into cutting down a tree.
I came home to all of this.
This is all that's left of a maple tree in Alina Schweer's front yard.
It was probably close to 30 feet tall.
The tall tree rooted at her home in Lacombe, Alberta for 26 years, now reduced to a stump and debris. It happened while Schweer and her family weren't home. The work done by a company she never hired.
We got a text from our neighbor that our tree was being removed.
Turns out the arborist had been duped too. Someone posing as Schweer used this photo from her home's real estate listing to hire Jesse Harder to remove the tree.
Take responsibility for it, but it's also unfortunate.
The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre calls it an overpayment scam, which can target a range of businesses. Scammers typically contact companies by text or email, overpay, often with a fake check, then ask for the difference back or have it sent to a third party before the fraud is discovered. In Harder's case, he asked for a 50% deposit, but the fake check he got was for more than that. The scammers then asked him to urgently send the extra money to roofers supposedly at the property. Harder refused, and it turns out there were no roofers. Lacombe police are now investigating.
I'm going to be a lot more vigilant of are you actually the homeowner?
Harder never sent the scammers any money, but the damage they set in motion is very real. He will now invest time and money to help Schweer restore her destroyed front lawn.
$5,000 to me $15,000 in that ballpark is my best guess.
A scam that failed to pay off for the fraudsters, but still left 2 victims paying the price.
Good gracious. There's so many moving parts in that scam, and I'm not surprised that this works.
Yeah, this is a really awful scam. There's so many scams. You can't even keep track anymore.
Have you ever heard of this?
I've heard of the overpaying part of it, but this is the first time that I've heard of it when it comes to an arborist or tree removal. And because what really, really sucks here is that you have a perfectly healthy, beautiful tree getting taken down.
Yeah, and you can't just plant a new tree. You can, but you can't plant a new 30-year-old tree that gives you shade on a hot day for your whole house. These scammers in targeting like roofers and arborists and stuff and paving jobs, apparently it's quite common. In fact, they didn't mention it in this news story, but a week before this happened, she got a knock on her door from another arborist saying, like, we're just here to check out the work. Do you want this tree cut down? And she said, like, no, I don't want a tree cut down. But she just thought, like, oh, they must have just had the wrong address. She didn't think anything of it. And why would you? Then a week later, she gets a text from her neighbor saying someone's cutting down your tree. And what she actually did was she, on her phone, got her video doorbell. She could see the guy doing the work, and she was screaming at him to stop through the video doorbell. But he couldn't hear her. And by the time he did, the tree was already cut down.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's only getting worse. These scams are, I mean, we've said this 1,000 times on this show because we're the type of show that covers these scams. And it's now every episode, there's a different scam going on or a new version of an older scam, a more precise version. And it's becoming near impossible to do anything about it.
Yeah, it is crazy. And so many of them are happening online, which makes it harder. A lot of the scams, even what we heard from tonight, like the whole Pokémon cards, all that was through Facebook Marketplace. This scam seems to happen via Facebook because the arborist was being contacted through Facebook. So people like someone on the other side of the world who has access to the internet, it's so easy to put things together and try to rip people off. And it's just shocking. In this story here with the arborist, of course, blame is on the scammer for doing this, but should there not be, like, I'm surprised you could just write to an arborist and have them come and cut down a tree.
Pick something that's not going to destroy an innocent tree. If you're going to scam, have as few victims as possible. We don't need to be chopping down Mother Nature here. So relax.
I think, I don't know if we should say this on the show, but the scams against large businesses like Amazon and Walmart and stuff, those ones, they don't put a bee in my bonnet, quite like the scams against Apple festivals, Renaissance fairs, or arborists that are advertising their services on Facebook. You know, that's the stuff that really bugs me. And those are the scams that we're really seeing rise, because as scammers and thieves and criminals get better and more desperate, they're learning the businesses that they typically target, like the Walmarts and whatnot, they're keeping up with it. They're doing all this anti-theft stuff that makes it hard. So the scammers and thieves, they turn to the average Joe and they say, I'm your grandson and I need something. Send me a bunch of money, or, you know, this sort of thing. It's just, there's no end to this. I want to start a separate show called, not Keep Canada Weird, but it could be called The World is Hell. And it's just every week is just stories about like how bad things
that sounds like a show I'd like to listen to. The world is hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very appealing.
Well, it's like, it'd be so easy. It would write itself. It'd just be so dark. You wouldn't want to fall asleep.
It could only be, each episode could only be 2 or 3 minutes long, because you would just, you'd want to bang your head against the wall.
Well, that's how the episodes would end. You would start, and then you just get so frustrated, and it would just end mid-rant. The episode would just end, because you're just like, what's the point of even recording this?
Yeah.
Stop.
Maybe a more flowery title. The world is not hell, but this podcast
the world is going to hell, and we can stop it. You would have to have a separate like happy ending at the end about like the end of the episode, how you could turn things around, I guess is how I would, if I was going to do it, that would be the only way I think I could stay sane.
It'd be kind of like one of your favorite cartoons, G.I. Joe, where at the end of the episode, they would have a message for kids. Like a don't do drugs thing, don't talk to strangers, life lessons.
Yeah.
So at the end of every episode of The World is Hell, you would have some kind of don't worry, it could be okay.
Yeah, or just one little like tip to make it a little less hellish. That's a great idea. Let's do the opposite of that tonight. I have a voicemail I want to air from a listener named Adri, who gives a bit of feedback on a story we covered in episode 227. We heard about the kid who stole his parents' rainy day fund, got his grandmother to take him to the Walmart where he bought a bunch of Roblox gift cards that the parents couldn't return, spending $2,000-ish. We were shocked by this, but probably more common than we may think.
Hello, Jordan and Aaron. This is your Ohio correspondent, Adri. I am a teacher here in Ohio, and I teach middle school, the prime age of the puberty problem. I've had at least 2 middle schoolers in my very short career that have also done something like this. I've had one that took mom's credit card and spent $1,000 on V-Bucks. And more recently, I had a student that was very similar to the one in the story. He took the emergency fund from his house, but he added to the lore of it all. And he told his mom that he was robbed at gunpoint when he got off the bus. And this person, made him give him the money, this, that, and the other. The moral of the story was that he went all the way over to Walmart across town. He spent $3,000 on some kind of e-bike rather than another. I don't know if e-bikes even cost that much money. But nonetheless, the cashier let a 12-year-old spend that kind of money. And it was an insane concept to me that nobody questioned a 12-year-old with oodles of cash. But yeah, I just wanted to say, Jordan, I knew you sound very surprised that this could ever happen. You mentioned that this was the start of a career criminal. As far as I'm concerned, this might be a regular thing amongst teenagers. At least in my experience, it's not rare.
So there you have it. Not a surprise. That voicemail could be well suited for my new podcast, The World is Hell.
Yeah, sure. What was Adri doing? Did you hear that sound?
I think they were driving.
That's what I thought at first, but then there was times where like every so often you would hear the sound, almost like the sound of like putting something into a bucket or dumping something out of a bucket.
Maybe farming? Do you think maybe Adri was farming?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Just was curious because you kind of hear the ambiance of a vehicle generally through the voicemail, but then there was a sound every now and then. Maybe it was
the wipers. Maybe it was raining and they were driving.
Oh, you know what? That's probably what it was.
I do enjoy hearing the background sounds because what we're hearing is where people listen to Keep Canada Weird. Audrey's probably driving somewhere. She's the teacher, probably, and it's summer break. She's probably on vacation or driving to vacation to the campsite, hopefully where her shoes will be okay, and listening to the show and is just compelled to send us that voicemail. I like that. We hear a lot of voicemails from bathrooms.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the ones where someone's whispering, like they don't want to wake up their partner next to them.
That's like they're listening at night.
Mm-hmm.
Their partner's asleep. Maybe they have headphones on. They're like, I want to tell you guys about the Roblox. Yeah, we get a lot of good ones. I always enjoy the voicemails. We have many more. I've been saying this for ages. We got to get a mailbag done. I am committed to doing it very soon. We're so far behind, but it's, you know what? Summer is hard when you got kids at home. It's hard for me to organize this stuff. We will get a mailbag done soon. Do you think we've been through enough tonight, or is there anything else we need to do to keep Canada weird one more time?
I think we weirded it up tonight very well, and I'm happy with our work here tonight. We're really doing important things here on the show.
Yeah, I really think we are as well. And, you know, after hearing how well you did in episode 227 with your numbers segment, I just don't even know going forward if I can continue the numbers segment. I think I may consider passing it on to listeners. We've had several listeners who sent us a voicemail talking about, you know, a specific number. So I'm going to say, anyone out there, if you want to take a stab at 229, 230, 231 or 232 and introduce the show's number, I'd be really interested in hearing it. I'm really questioning the future of the number segment because I don't think I can ever top what Aaron did last week.
I would like the number segment destroyed before 230, before 231, before 232.
We got to get to 902 though. That's the area code for Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I know. Why don't we just rename next week's episode 902?
and then end it.
Who's stopping us?
That's a good point. That's right. Well, we'll think about it. Anyway, let's put a bow on this. Handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan, bus stop, backhoe, 902 Bonaparte. Until next time.
If you're an arborist or any type of person doing that sort of work, I think you should make contact with the person you're working for before you actually do the damaging work. Whether it's ripping up a driveway, cutting down a tree, tearing off a roof, don't just do it based on an email. That's my big criticism of that story.
And Jordan, until next time, when you're considering putting together a new segment for the numbers segment and you posted on Facebook that you have an excellent number segment coming up next week, and then I'm going to reach out to you through that Facebook post and ask you to meet me so I can give you the numbers segment, because I'm posing as a listener and I've got great ideas, and I'm going to meet you there, but I actually have the police there waiting for you. They're going to arrest you for overusing the numbers segment, and we're going to have you put in jail, and then there'll be no more numbers allowed to be mentioned on the show ever again. And that includes just in general conversation.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. Now, if any one of you listening want to get more involved in what we're doing, we need all the correspondence we can get. So if something weird happens in your area, or if you have any thoughts on anything we discussed tonight, let us know about it. The best way to reach us is by using the voice recorder that can be found at thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, let us thank a few people. First of all, Aaron and I want to give a big thank you to all the correspondents who contributed to this episode. If your voice message was aired on the show, go back to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and fill out the form to claim your swag pack and Keep Canada Weird badge. We'll happily get it right out to you. Next, a big shout out to Unicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada that you're about to hear. And then lastly, but most importantly, we have a massive thank you to every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this work would be impossible. And for any one of you out there who want to support the show financially and get more out of the show at the same time, please consider the premium feed. Our premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of Keep Canada Weird episodes and bonuses. You can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if the premium feed isn't for you, you can still support the show by simply sharing episodes on social media. That's free, and it's a big help. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and please keep Canada weird.
Keep Canada weird. Keep Canada weird. It's Canada Weird song.
Weird Canada.
Keep Canada weird.